What if I told you there's footage from the Severance trailer that we haven't seen yet? Meaning it's all leading up to the season finale. Drummond attacking Mark, Helly going through the export hall. These moments are still coming. So in this video, we're breaking down every second of the finale trailer and uncovering hidden details and diving into the biggest theories before the final episode. Click the subscribe button and let's get into it.
Mark, there'll be no honeymoon ending for you.
Let's start off by breaking down the voiceover from Miss Cobel, because she said something that I think we should all find very interesting. The fact that she told Mark that there is no honeymoon ending for him, and she confirmed that Gemma is alive. But that's not the interesting part. The more interesting part is her telling Mark there is no honeymoon for him after, essentially saying there is no happy ending for Mark. The reason why I think we should pay attention to this is because last week's episode, we found out that Miss Cobel was the one who created Severance. I know, it came out of nowhere because Miss Cobel hasn't displayed any level of genius level intelligence, and out of nowhere, she's the creator of Severance. But I'll let that slide for the sake of the story. But now that we have her as well as Dr. Ragabi, who we thought was the one who created Severance because she is the one that's working on reintegration. And I'm going to give Severance the benefit of the doubt with Miss Cobel because back in season 1, Miss Cobel was the only one who believed that reintegration was possible. And it all makes sense now because she's the one who created Severance. She knows that reintegration is possible. And because of how skilled Dr. Ragabi was in implementing Severance, she knows that Ragabi would be the only one who could reverse engineer her work. When we take that and we tie it into what she was telling Mark, I think once you go through reintegration, there is no coming back. If we take a look at what happened to Petey in the first season, Petey died because of his reintegration sickness. And throughout this season, we've seen Mark get sicker and sicker the more he goes through reintegration and the more his memories come back. So I think it is a double-edged sword. Once you combine the consciousness of these two individuals, Innie Mark and Outie Mark, I don't think those two can exist in the same body at the same time with the same feelings. I feel like they're two distinct individuals. I don't know, you guys tell me how do you feel about the Innies versus the Outies, because that ties directly into Dylan's scenario.
At the end of the day, we're still stuck down here with no lives and no family.
Dylan, who is in love with his Outie's wife, which is technically his wife. We see Dylan's voiceover say at the end of the day, they are stuck down there with no lives and no family. And then we see a clip of him we haven't seen yet, which is Dylan and his Outie's wife kissing. At this point, I'm not sure if that's Innie Dylan or Outie Dylan, which makes us think about that question again, which I asked you guys earlier. Do you think that the Innies and the Outies exist as two separate individuals? And by individuals, I mean consciousness and souls. That's something that they've talked about in Severance before. When it came to Bert and Fields, they explained to Irving how some churches in the Severance universe even preach the fact that your Innie is pure and they can go to heaven. Your Outie, on the other hand, their souls may not be pure and they don't go to the other place. Actually teaching that the soul can be split because of Severance, which ties into the question, is your mind your soul? And is what Lumen is doing something that has to do with the manipulation of the soul? That's something that I think is going to get answered in the finale as we get a bigger answer as to what is going down with Cold Harbor. Because the very next scene we're following Helly R.
They give us half a life and think we won't fight for it.
Helly R says they give us half a life and think we won't fight for it. Helly R wants to exist, and we see her go and find the directions to the export hall. Remember, Irving left there for Dylan. Dylan got the message, however, he did not follow through with it, and he put it back behind the painting, which is why Helly R went after it. And now she has a way to get to that export hall. It's very important that she goes through there because I think what happens when she goes through that export hall is going to be very interesting. But the question is, when she goes through the export hall and down the elevator, what happens? Will she go back to being Helena Egan? Because we saw in episode 7, when Gemma went through the elevator, it activated her Severance and she became her innie. That's how Milch was able to get her to go back in the elevator. So what happens if Helly R goes down into that elevator looking for Mark? When she gets down there, she just transforms into her regular self. Does Helena even know the extent of what's going down there? Because even though she's a part of Severance, I don't think they'd give Helena all the information that she thinks she has, because I'm sure she doesn't know that there are people down there actually analyzing her as well. This following clip here, do you guys think that this is any Mark or is it outie Mark? The way he looks, it doesn't seem like he's too familiar with the layout of what's happening. I think reintegration has worked. And in the finale, I think we're going to see Miss Cobel work with Dr. Ragabi. And once Mark is reintegrated, he can use his innie's card to actually go through the elevator and not lose his memory. Which is why I think that scene overemphasizes the fact that Mark looks confused and he's trying to get a layout of where he is. I think the memories are going to blend in and he's going to eventually find out how to get to the export hall. And because he's been reintegrated, him going down the elevator is not going to change his memories or his mind the same way it's going to do to Helly R when she goes down there. And I think she's going to become Helena Egan again, which I think could explain what Mr. Milch is doing down in the hallway. I also have another theory. I think Mr. Milch is actually quitting Lumen. Hear me out. Look at how he's taking off his collar. It's almost as though he's leaving. Something must have happened to Mr. Milch where A, he's either going to go and try to fight Mark, which I don't think is going to happen, or B, he's actually having a crisis of consciousness and he realizes the full extent of what's going on with Lumen and he can't stay there anymore. Therefore, he's quitting. I think he's quitting because just something about Mr. Milch and Lumen just doesn't sit well with me and him this season. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But the very next scene is we cut to Drummond slamming Mark against the wall. And this pretty much confirms, I think, maybe that this is outie Mark that's inside the severed floor after hours. Because why else would Drummond slam any Mark who, for the most part, doesn't know what's going on? And the thing we know about Drummond is he mainly deals with the outies. He's the one that was following outie Mark and his sister earlier in the season. I think that makes him the cleanup guy for Lumen. So in this scenario, if Mr. Milch isn't the one fighting Mark and it's Drummond, that might mean that Mr. Milch is not there. And for the most part, we know Milch is always there unless, of course, he quits. And my theory may be true, but we'll have to wait to the finale to find out. And in the final clip, we then cut to someone in a Cure mask with a Cure painting hanging on the wall as Cold Harbor reaches 100%. I think that the person under that mask is James Egan, Helena's father. The reason why I think it's him is because we found out that he was not the creator of Severance. It was Miss Cobel. We learned that in episode 8. And the thing that we know about the Egans, starting with Cure, is they want to extend their legacy and they all want to live up to the ideals of what Cure Egan has laid out for them. I think because he knows that he didn't really create Severance, even though he's getting the credit, I think he might feel a level of insecurity within him and he may want to become Cure, and Cold Harbor may be his way of doing that, which begs the question, what is Cold Harbor? I think Cold Harbor is the total disassociation of one's mind and body from all attachments. That is the one way you could truly become like Cure, because Cure mastered the temperaments and no one else has been able to master them that way. If you're able to create a way for someone to completely detach from someone else, which adds to why Cold Harbor has to do with Gemma and Mark. I think they're trying to disassociate the connection of love between the two of them. Because I don't know if you noticed, when Gemma was going through all those rooms, she was being tested against various different traumas. And the one thing Dr. Maurer kept asking her was about what she felt afterwards. Could she connect to the feelings? Because she had no memory of what was happening in those rooms, was there a lingering feeling there? Which we know that she has. So that feeling can connect her to Mark. So if Cold Harbor is to work, it's a way to totally disassociate her feelings with Mark and her memory together, and the fact that they could both be in the same room together and feel absolutely nothing for one another. I think that's what Cold Harbor is. That's just my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the finale in the comment section below. Guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, peace.